Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird, true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 771, written by Volces, the beautiful voice of sorrow. A little after 7 a.m., we woke up to what sounded like an old song, maybe from the 50s. Johnny Cash voice, but even lower. And the skies are gray. Repeated 3 times with some bird chirping, then stopped by itself. Only 2 speakers in the apartment. The one connected to the PC doesn't have Bluetooth, and the computer was locked and nothing was open on it. When I played it, it was muted. Soundbar for the TV, but the TV is turned off. We are completely baffled and don't understand what just happened. It was also much louder than any of our speakers could have been. It's hard to recall what the sound was exactly as we were deep asleep. Happened about 30 minutes ago. We have no explanation and we also can't find the song. The song sounded like a sample was glitching and replaying. We live in a new high-rise that is perfectly sound insulated. Sound had to come from inside. When I say a song, don't think of it as an actual song. It sounded like something manufactured for a horror game as to be as creepy as possible. No one would listen to a song like this for pleasure. It's a song built to make you feel uneasy. It's not something you'd find on Spotify. It sounded like something I've never heard before. It almost sounded unreal. Even though there was crackling, it was like it was put there on purpose. And the quality of the sound was nothing I've ever heard before. It was better than any sound quality I've ever heard. It sounded more analog than digital. It's very hard to explain. It just sounded so real. Very depressing song about waking up to dark skies. Voice of the narrator in super hot VR. Delightful birds chirping and also crackling. Lasted about 10 to 15 seconds. It was about as loud as a smoke alarm when it went off. The song was very loud and felt like it was coming from the environment. Perfect surround sound like wearing a VR headset, but much, much louder. We have a soundbar in front of the TV that is Bluetooth enabled. I have the Logitech gaming set of speakers which are not Bluetooth or wireless enabled, and also no antenna. Note that neither the TV or computer could have played these sounds. Computer speakers were on mute when I tried to play something. Soundbar was off. There is a ceiling speaker that I think belongs to the smoke alarm. Case notes for file 771, the beautiful voice of sorrow. So part of this could be explained by some sort of tech glitch, maybe an amplification from the construction of the building. There's signals that are being picked up through the steel reinforcement, and maybe the wiring of the building is very odd, so just being plugged into the wall, there can be data transmitted. However, if it was just some song being picked up by someone else playing it, you'd expect this to be occurring very often. However, by your description, your writing, it seems like this only happened once, so that seems less likely. Also, why was the song itself glitching out? Was it part of some game? Could be, maybe. But were the idea of this being some convoluted extreme circumstance of just your speakers picking up sound from somewhere else? I'm lost because you say the sound quality was so supreme, like you've never heard before. The sound quality would be dependent on the signal, but also, of course, the speakers that you have. Even the best quality audio, if played on crappy speakers, wouldn't be very good. And by your description, it doesn't sound like your speakers are some advanced system. So they'd be as good as the speakers could be, and it doesn't seem like your speakers could produce quality audio like you described. So that's another aspect to this where, yeah, maybe it is just explained away by some tech glitch, signals being transmitted to the speakers, but even if that is the case, there's too many holes in it, especially just the idea that it should happen pretty frequently. This would definitely happen again, and you should be able to go to your speakers and physically hear it. Like just positioning your body, tilting your head so only one side is picking it up, you can detect where the source of the audio is coming from because of our brain's ability to detect where the sound wave is coming, if it's one ear or the other first. That's how we can directionally locate audio. Pretty cool, I'd say. So just listen out, see if you can determine where it's coming from if it happens again. Creepy file number 49, written by Female Disorder, a threat in the dark. This happened about 10 years ago. but it still creeps me out when I think about it. At the time, I was 18 female, living in a more crime-prone area of downtown Savannah, Georgia, with my older sister, then 20 female. We lived together in a super old, decrepit house and both worked at a nearby club. Not that it's super relevant, but we were both dancers at the time, so our work hours were odd, 7 p.m. to 2 a.m., later or earlier depending on the night. Her boyfriend, who had been living there, was in jail at the time. I know, we were real winners back then. Generally, we would both work the same shifts. On this particular evening, I was tired and didn't feel like going in, so she went without me. We didn't really have internet or cable, just DVDs and my cell phone, so I would frequently spend my nights on the porch listening to music. It was starting to get late, maybe 10 to 11 p.m., and I noticed a figure in the distance coming up the sidewalk. I didn't think too much of it. A lot of people walk everywhere downtown, and we had a pretty large homeless population. But then I realized he seemingly noticed me and crossed the street to the sidewalk that ran in front of my house. I didn't budge. I wasn't scared of much back then. I had seen a lot of crazy crap, so an unassuming man approaching at night didn't bother me in the slightest. As he got closer, I could see he was a dirty older gentleman, likely homeless. I stared down at my phone. A few seconds later, I looked up and that's when I saw him, a few feet away from me, on my porch, just standing there, staring at me. I got a chill down my spine. I didn't want to threaten the guy and potentially escalate the situation, so instead I just said, "Hey man, what's up?" He immediately started talking faster than my brain could keep up. I assumed the guy was sacked out of his mind on drugs or something. I had no clue what he was saying, but a few words were clear. "Hey baby, hang out. Fine. Stupid girl, kill." I froze. I decided to try and play it cool by asking the guy if he wanted a cigarette. He nodded, and I slowly got up to pass him to get to my front door. I explained to him they were inside, and he would have to leave after I gave him one, as my sister's boyfriend was home and I'd get in trouble for having people over to their house without permission. He seemingly accepted that. I handed him a cigarette and went to close the door. Something told me to hurry, and so I did. I slammed the door shut and locked it. I looked through the peephole and saw him feeling his pockets like he was looking for something. I could hear him mumbling gibberish and cursing while trying to open my door. I panicked, ran to the back door to let our 3 large dogs in, a Rottweiler and 2 pit bulls. They are sweet, but very loud and scary sounding if you didn't know them. Their barking seemed enough to scare him away. I called my sister over and over until she picked up. I was freaking out, explaining what happened. She told me to lock all the doors and she would be home in a few hours. Hindsight, I wish I had called the police, as I was terrified the rest of the night and every sound startled me even after my sister got home. I never saw the man again, and I stopped sitting outside alone at night. A week later, down the street from us, a young girl, early teens, was dragged into an alley while waiting for the city bus and was assaulted. I still don't know what came of that. They never caught the guy. I called and reported what happened to me. I still wonder if that would have been me had I not gone inside. Shortly after, we moved away and got different jobs. Case notes for the creepy file number 49, A Thread in the Night. As the tremendously famous and awesome narrator of the Darkest Dungeon video game series said, "Overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer." And I think that's a good quote. It's just true. Confidence is good if it's justified by past experience and knowledge. But there's points where you just want to say, okay, this is a dangerous situation. I shouldn't be terrified, but I should, be cautious. If you're sitting out on the porch at night and some random old man that looks homeless approaches you, crosses the street to do so, yeah, maybe just slowly work your way towards the door and lock it, see what happens from there. Be ready to defend yourself, call the police, all that stuff. It does certainly help that you have 3 large, intimidating dogs, even if they're gentle giants. Just the imposition of having that many, even one, it's a good deterrent for would-be criminals, for sure. And in this case, it seems like if someone is hopped up on drugs, they're not even processing danger properly, so having 3 would supplement that, as needed. I would say they're nature's alarm system. There's a reason we bred them to be our companions. Good at hunting and protection. Very useful. We don't deserve dogs. Well, some people don't. I think if you treat them well, it's a mutual system. And I think I hear Mr. Ben crying out for food. Yes, I think I'll give him some.